Much for joining us today. We have a lot to go over with the superstar panel, and we're going to be talking about IntelliSearch, why it works, what it looks like, what's going on with it. So we're excited to share with you today. We're going to give it a couple of minutes like we usually do. Let's get people talking to us in the chat. Where are you logging in from today? We're going to keep it nice and simple. Usually I try to think of something creative, but it's Monday, so we're just gonna get a location. Here we go. Okay, we've got Tennessee and Arizona, Pine Top, Arizona. Barry in the Bay Area. Welcome, Barry. Okay, great. Well, it sounds like everybody can hear me, so that's a good thing. So we're not going to wait too long today for everybody to log in, but we will give everybody a couple of minutes. Oh, Dayton, Ohio. Figured there'd be somebody from Ohio in here. I'm only laughing because we were talking about that before. John's originally from Ohio, so nothing bad, nothing bad. Vero Beach, Florida. We were just at Florida last week. Okay. Hawaii. We've got Hawaii. Well, good morning, Hawaii. I guess I said good afternoon in the beginning. So Montreal. All right. Got some Canadians in the house along with John. John, you're bringing in the Canada contingent. And Louisville. Cool. We're going to give it just a little bit more time. Actually, why don't we get rolling? So I'm super excited about today because I think we're not only going to cover a lot of information, but I think we're really going to provide some clarity to our existing clients, as well as some information to those of you who aren't quite on Sierra yet, but are looking or interested in making a move. So I think this stuff is what we've done with IntelliSearch is really great. So let's go ahead and jump right in. And we've got an all-star cast with us today, including Peter McLaughlin, our CEO, John Mayberry, a longtime client with Sierra, and he's actually been using IntelliSearch for at least a couple of months now. So he's going to talk a little about sort of the client-facing user experience. Cindy Liang, who's our principal product manager and really the tip of the spear on creating and developing this IntelliSearch solution. And then, well, yours truly, Scott Selvarian with Director of Industry Relations. So let's hop right into it. Peter, I'm going to pass it off to you to talk a little bit about, why IntelliSearch.
Yep. Thanks, Scott. Welcome, everybody. So we've got a great crew. So we're going to spend the majority of our time actually in the product today, poking around in it, making sure everyone understands the power of IntelliSearch. But I wanted to spend just a couple minutes at the beginning of the session to bring you guys into the tent around the why. And so why do we do this? And so taking a bit of a step back, we're proud of our websites. We believe they're some of the best in the market, but we aren't resting on our laurels, right? We know we need to continuously improve the website offering so you all stay ahead of the competition. And IntelliSearch is an innovation that represents exactly that. It's a step change improvement that we believe is going to position you all to win in the years to come. And it's really an upgraded foundation that we're going to continue to build upon and improve. And so before we get into the details, as well as the major upgrades we've made in response to feedback from you all, what's the why behind this? Why did we embark on this in the first place? And there are really 5 key reasons around why we did this that I think will help set the stage for the what, which is where we're going to spend the majority of our time. And so reason number 1 is that limiting search to only the MLS fields makes it hard for buyers to find exactly what they want, right? If a buyer's must-have feature is not represented in the MLS, consumers can't easily find it. And related to that, the agents can't easily surface it for them. So keyword search fundamentally changes that. The second thing is keyword search also supercharges your SEO capabilities. So now you can create community pages and feature properties on those pages using keywords that aren't confined to the MLS search criteria. So you can create more content that consumers actually care about and what they're searching for in an effort to generate more organic traffic. The third thing is that requiring consumers to select an MLS region to conduct a search never made sense. Most consumers don't know what the hell an MLS even is. Therefore, presenting that as search criteria was confusing and added a lot of unnecessary friction to the experience. And so with IntelliSearch, if your site covers multiple regions, that friction is gone. Consumers are able to seamlessly search across regions without having to select an MLS, which was a concept that was completely foreign to them. Um, the fourth thing, and I'm sure it's something that's on everyone's mind, is search behavior is changing with the adoption of AI and large language models. And IntelliSearch positions us and you to win in this new paradigm. And so while the principles of SEO and what's now called AEO, answer engine optimization, are very similar, authoritative content that directly answers consumers' questions is going to matter even more going forward. And IntelliSearch enables you to create exactly this type of content, right? Hyper niche community pages that address specific questions that buyers have um, as they embark on their home search. And we'll show you some examples of this today. John and team are doing some really interesting stuff on this front that I think will help bring this to light. And then lastly, and I think this is important but harder to illustrate, is that IntelliSearch is built on modern infrastructure. So pages load faster and searches update more quickly, which I think we all know minimizes drop off and helps the team helps you all deliver a more polished, high performing client experience. And so again, before we dive in, one last thing, we're really excited about this, and it's currently in the hands of about 50% of our customers. Um, for those of you who don't have it yet, I'm sure the number one question running through your head is, when am I going to get it? So we intentionally paused the broader rollout a few months ago to incorporate some really valuable and I think really important feedback we were receiving from the customer base. And we've spent the last few months making material upgrades to the experience that makes the experience better for both agents and consumers. We're almost finished releasing those enhancements, and we expect to complete the rollout to all customers in early Q1 of next year. And it will continue to be a phased rollout region by region. And so as your region is approaching, we will be in touch with you. You will be aware, you will be educated, etc. And so now let's dive in. We're gonna cover a lot of ground. If you have questions, please submit them to the Q&A functionality in the Zoom chat, and we will either try to address it live here today, or we will follow up with every single question we receive via email. But the first point that I wanted to make sure we touch on is how IntelliSearch mirrors how buyers actually search for homes today. And so many buyers now are searching with natural language, right? They're using terms that aren't necessarily included in the standard MLS fields. And what IntelliSearch allows buyers to do and agents to do is to go beyond the confines of the MLS fields. And it also allows you to create content that is corresponding to those terms. So not only can searches perform better and become a little bit more specific, but content can do the same. So what does this mean? In reality, this means superior search results and more organic traffic. And I'll turn it over to Cindy to illustrate exactly how this all works.
Thanks, Peter. So I think before I show you guys kind of how it all works in IntelliSearch, I kind of want to showcase how it works today, right? I'm sure you guys are very familiar with it, but just to kind of set set the land a little bit here. So, imagine, right, you have a lead. They land on your IDX website. They're looking for listings that have smart home technology and energy efficient design, right? Because according to the 2025 trends of home buyers in Canada, those were the top two home features that people are looking for. So, they go ahead, right? They put in their price, bed, bath, and then they go to all filters. Now they're looking for specifically smart home technology and energy efficient design. So first, they have to scroll through this very long list of criteria to even find those features, which can be difficult because you can easily miss it. But also, if let's say, your MLS doesn't have it, they may not be able to find it. So in this case, we're looking for smart home. Perfect. This MLS has smart home. So that's great. We'll go ahead and check that off. Now let's look for energy efficient. There's nothing here around energy efficient. There's nothing around energy, as we saw earlier, nothing around efficient, right? So at this point in the legacy search, your lead is effectively facing a dead end, right? They can't really go any further. They can only look for listings that have smart home, but it may or may not be energy efficient, which is a miss for them. And so they may be frustrated and they may go to another site or a national portal that will find listings that, have smart home and energy efficient for them. But with IntelliSearch, this effectively becomes a non-issue. So using this same search, you can now use the keyword search capability. So your lead can just go ahead and type in smart home, find it, you can type in energy efficient, and we found 153 properties right off the bat that matches to both smart home and energy efficient. And so this is just one of the ways where, IntelliSearch is very much designed to help support you and your leads in searching for the home they want using natural language and not be confined to an MLS checkbox. Hope that's helpful. Peter, I'll hand it back over to you. Peter, you're on mute.
Just realized I was on mute. Thank you, Cindy. So we're going to build on that and talk about how keyword search not only unlocks incremental search capabilities, but also enables and unlocks new content opportunities. So, we like to say that it supercharges SEO and AEO by enabling you to create more discoverable content than you could before. So now you can create community pages and feature properties on those pages using keywords that aren't confined to just the MLS search criteria. So I'll turn it back over to Cindy. I think we'll also loop in John to illustrate exactly how this works in practice.
Yeah. So something that, we had heard when we were talking to our customers that come up in like specifically the Toronto market are people who are looking for investment opportunities that are very suitable for Airbnb. Now, most MLSs, I think, as we know, don't really have like Airbnb as a standard field, right? And so when you are searching for properties that are suitable for Airbnb, so let's say in this case, we're using the Toronto feed, right? You type in Airbnb, there isn't anything here in the MLS criteria, as you can see. Some MLSs might call it short-term rental, but even in this case for Toronto, short-term rental is not even available. And so as an agent who's looking to capture this traffic or be able to, serve a lead who's looking for this investment opportunity, this is effectively a lost opportunity to capture that trending topic for home investors, right? But with IntelliSearch keyword, you can just simply type in Airbnb, so like what I did here, right? And then search for that. And right away, we have found 28 listings that talk about Airbnb in the listing description. So as an example, we can pull this up. Oh, oops. So you can see that this is in the Airbnb permitted zone. So it's a perfect match, right? So as Peter was saying earlier, you can now create this save search. You hit save. You can go ahead and create that community page targeting Airbnb traffic pages. And so this is like homes that are perfect for Airbnb, right? You can surface up that same 28 listings that you were seeing earlier. And so this is essentially what we mean by, giving you guys the ability to unlock new opportunities, whether that's Airbnb, mother-in-law suites, energy efficient, as we saw earlier, or any other lifestyle terms. If it's in the listing description, IntelliSearch is going to be able to find that information along with MLS criteria info and be able to surface that up so that you and your buyers can find it. And so it's meaning that your site can now serve results where your competition isn't going to be able to serve.
Thanks, Cindy. And just to note, Jennifer actually put in the chat that it's reliant. One of the main things about IntelliSearch is it doesn't rely on agents checking the correct checkboxes in the MLS, right? It's going to look at those, but it's also going to look at the listing description. So, I mean, we all know agents kind of move through those check boxes pretty quickly, but everybody focuses a lot, at least you should be focusing on what that listing description says in your marketing description. So, IntelliSearch is actually going to bypass those check boxes and make sure we look at both.
Exactly, exactly.
Very cool.
I'm just going to chime in real quick because I am an agent and it's probably easy for everybody. Like I see Jennifer and Barry's message there, just to explain kind of a little bit more about what you said, Scott, is, and correct me
And
if I'm wrong.
John, before you dive in, maybe just introduce yourself and
Oh,
you
sorry.
know, where
Hi,
are you
everyone.
based, what's your business do you
Sorry.
run, et cetera.
Sorry, I'm a realtor up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I run a real estate team, the Calgary Homeboys and the Calgary Homegirls. Yeah, I'm from the States, sadly, from the town of the Bengals. But still proud fan. Anyways, I just wanted to like kind of hone in on her specific thing, because the reason this is so great for us, if it works the right way, is we're searching the actual board criteria, which is different for every board you guys service. I understand we're searching that, but we're also overlaying if they put that word in the details, correct? Like we can
Mhm.
put both on there. So if I mean, for me personally, we have mountain view. So it used to be a box you could check. Now it's just view, so we can check mountain view. But if someone in my area, for parking, RV parking is a big thing. So they put RV parking as a field. So the agent will, go in and check RV parking. And so I can set up a search for RV parking. Anybody who has checked that'll be there. But as we all know, in Calgary, 7,000 agents, 5,000 of them forget to put that checkbox, but they obviously put it in the details, like Scott was saying, where, you're putting a lot of thought into it and you obviously put RV parking. So on the search itself, it will pull the ones who put the field as RV parking, but also the ones that didn't necessarily check the box, but wrote it in the details. Correct, Cindy?
That's correct.
Yeah, so it's
So
kind of the best of both worlds. I literally just had this happen this week with one of my agents who listed a house with a pool, which is not very common up here. Our board details kind of changed a little bit. They forgot to click the pool. It's a $1.5 million house, and so on our pool page it didn't show. So for that specific thing, because he types the word pool, it will pull it in even though he didn't select it. So I think that answers that question that Jennifer had, I'm sure. It's
yeah,
kind of the best
so
of both worlds. I also really like the idea of Barry saying, which I think based on my conversation earlier with Cindy, once we have this down, we're going to make it more prominent than kind of hidden with the keyword, right? Try.
yes. Sorry, can you say that last part again, John?
Well, just it's such a cool feature from the public side when we're searching it. Like it's hidden down below a little bit right now under keyword tool, but if we can like make that more prominent somehow, that would be ideal.
Yep, totally. It's definitely
Yeah,
something that we can look into, as we
yeah, I
roll
think
this
we already
out
talked about
further.
it.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to just highlight, so John, you were saying earlier around Mountain View, searching that keyword in the listing description, right? So like in this specific example here, right, we talk about it finds the RV parking, it talks about Mountain View, but then at the bottom here, you can also see, let me just real quick. Yeah, it says RV access parking. So that was the MLS criteria that we had checked off earlier, right? But there is no like mountain view in the MLS criteria, as you can see. And so, but when we use the keyword search, because this listing talks about it in the listing description, we were able to pull that up and surface that. So it's a good way, as John was saying, to like sort of combine both keyword and MLS criteria together.
John, how have you seen the new search experience help you guys either increase your site visitors or just get more traffic to your site or more leads? Or I mean, are you seeing those results?
Yeah, well, there's two faucets for me as a team leader. So the agents who are, I mean, we do web lead, right? So the agents that are setting up searches is one of my concerns, and then obviously the public side and generating traffic. On the agent side, You know, with me, I have a mixture of agents. I have some younger agents, some older agents, and so it's been funny to see. Like for me, IntelliSearch is very much younger. Like they like it a lot more because it's straight to the point. You're typing right in what you want, and you know you're moving on, and you're not having to go through and check boxes and do different things. Whereas I have some older agents who obviously, and I'm probably looped in with that. I prefer to like see all my options, check which ones
Yeah,
I have, and I get that side of it. And I like this because originally when it first came out, it didn't have that. And talking with Cindy, they had that view all, which was great that they listened to the feedback, receptive, and now that they can click view all, my agents are happy because the ones that want to go in and just click view all and find what options they are and select them, they have that. Whereas some of my younger
sure.
guys that are more tech savvy, they can go in and just type it. And then on the back end of that, yeah, I mean, I use Joe. Sorry, I use a guy for SEO. Real that does a lot of my searches and you know I'm fairly knowledgeable about it, but he's much more knowledgeable and good at it. So I took a
Sure.
break from him for a long time, but I brought him back in recently. And I mean, we're seeing results like we talked about the AI stuff. We've seen some stuff on things that we're just playing around with. The AI overview.
Hmm.
I don't know if we really got into that yet, but it's uh it's definitely been very helpful kind of on
Yeah,
both sides for me. And that's something
cool.
we've always worked on is to be able to find, you know, your niche categories within the area. And I think being Sierra, who's dealing with say hundreds or thousands of boards and all the different criteria, it's kind of hard to nail that. And so for us
Yeah,
to be able to go in and kind of tweak it to exactly what is special in our area. Like, you know, we have sub communities here that, of course, no one else outside of Calgary is going to have, or even like we just said, RV parking. There's some places that doesn't matter. I'm sure. And we talked about the
sure.
barn dominiums the other day. Like that's something that's special. So like,
Yeah.
there's always going to be something special. So it's nice to have that flexibility without calling you guys and making you make changes constantly.
Right, right. And you mentioned that I mean, I know you run a team, but you mentioned that you're running a team. How is the transition for your agents? I mean, did they come up to speed pretty quickly? Was it a shock to the system when IntelliSearch rolled out for you guys? Talk a little bit about
Yeah, no one likes change, Scott, as you know. So it's always, especially realtors, like
that.
the no one, but I think it's inevitable. It's same type of thing. The newer agents were able to flex to it pretty quickly, whereas some of the older ones we had to sit down and go through it. But I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory if you just spend a little time. The biggest concern I had, and I know some of the other agents that are in my network had, which and you guys can talk about this, was all the pre-existing stuff that we had built, you know, up till now. That's where I think the sky was falling. The biggest worry from our side was that
Right.
it was going to damage all these. I know you guys kind of stopped things and did a bunch of work on your end, which is nice that you're responsive to that. And it feels like, again, you can talk on that, but it feels like we haven't had any issues with that
Cool.
per se.
Great,
So, yeah.
great. Peter, Cindy, you want to touch on the existing searches at all?
Yeah, that makes sense to jump to that section now. So I think that I'll turn it over to Cindy in a section. There are two main points that I want to make sure everyone hears. The first is that we preserve all the criteria around your existing searches. And then we use IntelliSearch updated logic, including exact versus partial, which we're going to cover here to make sure they continue to perform as intended. So Cindy can show you live exactly how this is going to work, but your existing searches will uh, work in an IntelliSearch world.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and create, you know, a safe source using the legacy interface so then you can actually see it live. So we'll go ahead and we'll call this Monday's demo, right? We'll leave this the same as residential. Go ahead and put in a city. We'll say Calgary under, let's say 1 million, 2 bed, 2 bath. And then we'll look for some of the home criteria. So we'll look for finished basement, parking as covered. Let's say cover parking, and then southwest quadrant. Okay, so we found one property. Go ahead and save that. Just to really quickly show you. So that's what it will look like in the legacy search experience, right? With your criteria saved, as you can see here, right? One listing that matches exactly. So we'll go ahead and turn on IntelliSearch. So first, you can see we have preserved all of the criteria, as Peter said, right? We have the Calgary location, the residential property type, the feet that you used previously, the price range, the bed bath, the finished basement that we searched for, the southwest quadrant that we were searching for, as well as covered parking, right? So none of that changes. We have preserved all of those criteria from before to IntelliSearch. What has, essentially been updated, and you can even see, we still have that one exact match that you saw earlier, right? And we'll talk about this in a little bit, but the logic of that exact versus partial is what gets updated here. So we have the exact match, and then we also have now what we call partial matches. So partial matches essentially listings that match to one or more of the key criteria that you were searching for. And so that's what gets updated in IntelliSearch. But again, all of your search criteria are preserved.
Perfect. And just to clarify too, that the keyword searching is gonna, I don't know if somebody asked in the chat, but here it is anyway. The keyword search is gonna search the listing description, not the agent notes or private comments or things like that. It's really only what's shown publicly.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the listing
Cool.
description as well as the MLS like criteria checkboxes.
Excellent. Excellent. So John, you mentioned that you have somebody working on your content. Have you guys sort of changed your strategy at all and when it comes to content creation using IntelliSearch when working with that third party?
I use Joe Heath from Real Estate Web Creations. Use them for, like I said, I used them for a very, very long time. He, I mean, we've always been kind of going after search criteria, the whole point of SEO. And like I said, we took a long break, and I realized how much I needed it and missed him. but I like I said, for us, it's kind of going over. It just sets it easier to find those things that are unique in our market that we know the public is searching for, and so
Cool.
we'll find things that they're actually searching for that don't necessarily have a field on Pillar 9 or our board. Sorry, our board. Search field, or it's just not done well, or like I said, the biggest thing is the error from realtors. I mean, we're all human. Realtors, I think we all probably mess up more than most, and so when we're doing a search, quickly setting up a search, we forget to check a box, and so it doesn't hit a search. Whereas if we set
Yeah,
it up through IntelliSearch, it's going to find that hidden listing.
great, great. And just a point of clarification, when Cindy was jumping around before in the demo and she was hitting that toggle switch, you guys don't have to worry about that. That's strictly back-end Sierra support stuff that's going to enable it on your system. So don't go looking for that setting or wondering what it's called or looking for how to find it. So that's really what we're going to do when we roll out IntelliSearch on within your region. So sorry for the confusion there. Awesome.
Yeah, why don't we build on what Scott and John were just talking about? Because John, I think you guys have done you've done some interesting things of late that are that are capturing like demand around new terms, if you will, that aren't present in the MLS. I think the one we had discussed was the barn dominium, which is something I learned about on Friday last week. And so why don't we walk through that example? Because I think that will be pretty eye-opening for folks.
You want me to talk about that? Yeah, I mean, I wasn't I wasn't aware of the term myself either, and so that's kind of the joys of having somebody who's much smarter than me work on my site for me. And so he was just showing that an example. I don't think it's a big term around Calgary. It's starting to gain momentum, I guess, out on the outskirts. And I forget who we were on the call with, but whoever it was, maybe Mallory, somebody we were with was very familiar with it. They knew it,
Hmm.
and so.
Yeah, I
Uh,
guess it's a term down in Alabama people use, but it's not a term up in Boston where I live.
Yeah, I mean, AI is here. We all know it. The AI overview is just like another iteration of SEO, and for guys like myself that don't crush SEO in my market compared to everyone, especially with the long drop off we did, just trying to get back into it. It just gives you another option to kind of hit that Google, hit the Google and show up in a result. And so she's showing one right here. I think for mine, when we typed it was just like Calgary barndominium for sale or something, and it popped up. And so this is just one example. But I mean, I find myself as a user all day long when I search something and the AI overview pops up, I go right to it. So, and it's funny how much we kind of, even me who knows how this is ran, I look at it as if it's like gospel and it's the truth and it's just somebody's input. But knowing that from a user side, I use a lot. So anything we can do to end up in an AI overview is pretty cool. And I think that's what the IntelliSearch is helping us with, is coming up with that stuff.
Yeah, and just to be clear, John's result is that top right one. Cindy, do you want to click on that?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, so we only have one and it's 2.3, but that's the kind of I mean, pretty much take that example and spread it across is what we're trying to attain, which I'm sure Joe's not going to be happy that I'm saying that to you guys, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but you're able to capture the long tail, which is where a lot of the high intent lives anyway, and build content that is specific to your region and what consumers in your region care about, right? So I think it's the fundamental
Yeah.
message, and this is pretty cool.
Yeah, and so for this, there's no such category as that. So we're using the keyword search to find it, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Um, cool. Well, Cindy, why don't we bounce to I think this piece can be pretty quick, but how there's no more MLS confusion. And so, I mentioned earlier that requiring consumers to select an MLS when they search is never a good experience. We were forced to do it because limitations in our database infrastructure. Those limitations are gone. And so now we allow consumers to search across MLS regions without having to think about the concept of an MLS. And you can create searches across multiple MLSs in a way that was a challenge before. So, Cindy, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so just to kind of like, again, show you guys what it used to look like in the legacy search experience, right? If you operated on a multi-region site, your buyers would have had to first select, which MLS region that they're looking for. If they're searching in Calgary and Edmonton, they would have to define if they want to search in Calgary first and then Edmonton, or maybe they have to go and look at CREA Full because perhaps that's the MLS region that covers both regions. Who knows, right? And so this is like a very key friction point that we hear over and over again from customers who are multi-region customers. And what I think also gets really messy is between each MLS region, right? You have very different fields, terminology, options, right? Calgary has a very long list of options, but if you go to Edmonton, it's something completely different. You go to create a full, and then there's something completely different. And so not only does your buyer have to first learn, like, well, which MLS am I searching against, and learn how the boundaries are drawn somehow. They're also going to have to learn, right, like each of the MLS language and that all filters drop down and be able to then, after that, search your site and actually find the right home. And so what IntelliSearch allows you to do is basically combine all of that into one unified search experience. And so now in IntelliSearch, you can see there is no more drop down. You don't have to worry about that anymore. As a buyer, I can just come in and I can type in Calgary as, the city. Sorry, give me 1 second. Let me refresh this. Right? I can type in Calgary, I can type in Vancouver, I can search, city or even subdivision or area. I can mix and match that. And it's basically going out and searching across all of the MLS regions that you are a part of in a single unified search experience. And so, that just really eliminates that confusion and the friction that you saw in the legacy search experience.
Amen. Awesome. Yeah, it's been a key point of friction for our multi-region customers for years, and it's exciting that we're now able to finally remove that friction. So Cindy, why don't we segue now to exact versus partial, which I think is something many folks are curious about, and I want to make sure we give due time to. So just to set the stage, exact versus partial match functionality as it exists today was really built in direct response to a lot of, I think, really valuable feedback we received to IntelliSearch a few months back. And so think about the following scenario. So your lead is looking for 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home under 750K with backyard fencing and EV charging station and hardwood floors. What IntelliSearch is able to do is it's able to deliver you exact matches. So we find listings that perfectly match all those criteria. But the game changer is that it also is able to provide what we call partial matches, right? So it intelligently identifies homes that match at least half of those keywords. And so you might be asking, well, why is that important? Many home buyers don't end up getting exactly what they want, right? They enter the process with a long wish list that, as they go through the process, ends up getting whittled down, and they might find the perfect home, ends up becoming the perfect home that meets 3 or 4 of their 6 or 7 criteria. That is a great outcome for them. And being able to surface partial matches allows you to continue the conversation in a way that it might have resulted in a dead end before, right? And so I'll turn it over to Cindy to showcase this functionality, but this is really, really important.
Yeah, so, as Peter was talking, I was kind of typing in a couple things here just to kind of show you, right? You can search for, let's say, EV charging in this case, or fencing, and that's what your buyer's looking for. And so we are saying now there are 69 exact matches. So all 69 of these have both EV charging and fence listed either in their description and or in MLS. But we've also surfaced up 10,000 different listings that have either or. Now, let's say, you now have a buyer that are looking for something like a 3-bed, 2-bath, right, in the region of Toronto. And they are very specifically saying that they want an indoor pool because they're very fancy. And they want to have an indoor pool. And they also want a chef's kitchen. And they also want to make sure that they have hardwood flooring. Hardwood floor. In this case, there's actually 0 exact matches, right? In the legacy search experience, you wouldn't have been able to surface up anything for your lead. But because IntelliSearch is showing you both exact and partial, we're opening that door for you to basically continue the conversation with your lead to be able to say, hey, you know what? This home, that's $32 million. Maybe the price is right. Maybe it's in the perfect location. It has that indoor pool. It has a chef's kitchen, but maybe it doesn't have hardwood floor, right? Do you want to still go and see it? And so this is very much about saying, hey, there are 237 additional listings that match to, again, one or more of these, but not all of these, right? It's for you to have that conversation and continuing that conversation, um, just so you can, keep them engaged and keep them going. And I think I just also want to share a personal story here. I'm a recent home buyer. And when I started my home purchasing process, I walked in with what I thought was like a pretty trimmed down list already of must have, right? It's just like four things, location being a key part. But the house I actually ended up purchasing only had two of the four, right? And it gave me something else entirely that it wasn't even on my must have list, in that it was like a newly renovated home. And so, but that was the criteria that is what ended up selling me on my property. And so I think like that just goes to show like if in the legacy search experience, if we were only stuck to exact match, I would have never found the home I ended up purchasing. But the partial match is what gave me the ability to say, oh, hey, there's this other home that I'm kind of interested in. Let me go and check it out. Right. Um, and just to
Yeah, that's it.
say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What I was going to say is now let's assume you have a lead that is very, very adamant about their must have. You can still say on the save and continue, right? We give you the option to say include exact match only. And so this is going to ensure then your lead is only going to get exact matches in their e-alert and or market update. So you do still have that option.
Yeah, we recognize that some clients, while they may not know it yet, uh, really, really, really want just what they're looking for, and might get upset if you're sending them things that aren't just what they're looking for. So you have that capability, and then you can layer in the partial matching functionality over time when you think the time is right, as their search continues.
Right.
Scott, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to ditto that. I mean, I think when I was in production, and there's very, as far as I experience, there's very few people that are going to be very super stringent to the exact match. So being able to offer that partial match is really not only going to open up what you're sending them and help you narrow down what they're really looking for, but potentially get them into something sooner. So yeah, I really like that feature. That's great. John, do you guys use that exact and partial match, and how has that worked out for you?
So I mean, some feedback. I'm taking notes right now too. Like one of the things that I want to explore, I guess, and see because it would be ideal is twofold. One is the partial match. It'd be nice if we can somehow get it to show which one of the criteria was the partial match. I don't know if that exists or not already. I agree with you 100%, Cindy. When you ask somebody what they're looking for, even us as realtors, you say what you want, but to be able to see some of the options available, but not one that you can either add on yourself, or if it was the flooring, you could go buy the house and change the flooring or add something on. That's nice to just display right away, because as you know, we're not always talking with every single person who's on our site. It would definitely be nice to kind of showcase, I guess, that from the public side, that these are the exact matches, these are the partial matches, because right now you're on the safe search, so that's easy for us as agents to do, and explain that to the clients, which is awesome. But for the public side, that if they don't like it or it doesn't look right, they're going to move on right away. I would like to see it where it's kind of allowing them to see, if it doesn't already, the exact and the partial matches. But it is a very helpful tool to have that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great feedback. We currently don't, tell you exactly like, hey,
What
what,
matches?
right, exactly in terms of the partial matching part. But it's definitely something that, we can
Even
look.
just like the beginning to say these are the exact and these are the partial on the public site, does it show that way? So like right
It
now for me,
does. It does
okay,
actually show that
good,
way as well.
perfect.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it did or not. So that's awesome right there. And then, yeah, if it can layer down to show them, I know that's probably further down the road stuff, but that's awesome that it shows them right away so that they can, like you said, it's not a dead end. Like, oh, nothing matches, I'm moving on. Whereas
Exactly.
keeping them on our site, the longer the better, right?
Totally. So you can see, let me just really quickly pull that up. So you can see here, right? Obviously I came from a safe search, but like as you were doing the search, you will see that like, okay, there are no exact matches. We'll default you to the partials just so that you can continue
And
doing
it
that discovery.
defaults to the exact if there are exact, and then they can click the partial,
Mhm.
right? Right.
That's right.
I just seen a question in there, so I figured that'd answer it.
Yeah.
And Cindy, sort of a question in the chat in regards to existing searches that are brought over to IntelliSearch.
Mhm.
Are they defaulted to exact match or are they defaulted to partial match?
It should always default you to exact matches if there are
Okay,
exact match listings. We only default you to partial when there are no exact. You'll never hit like a as much as possible.
gotcha. Okay, great. Peter, did you want to touch on SEO and AEO? I know John, we showed it a little bit in regards to John's results with the barn dominium. Um, you're on mute.
Keep forgetting to go off mute. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned earlier how, while this new paradigm might seem scary, a lot of what our high performing customers have been doing and are continuing to do are going to enable them to win in this new paradigm. I think what's really cool about IntelliSearch is it's unlocking some of these use cases that formerly were impossible, right? Like around a bar dominium, like around um, like in-law suite, other terms that are that are searched relatively frequently that don't reside in the MLS data structure, but you can now build content around. And so I think Cindy is pulling up yet another one of the pages John and team have built that are enabling them to drive traffic towards long tail keywords that are important to people, right? And actually generate a reasonably high amount of search volume.
Yeah, I mean, this really maps to a lot of the SEO experts that I hear and talk to about really niching down in your market instead of going with Calgary homes for sale, dialing that into barn dominiums or RV parking or very specific things to start increasing the traffic to your website and helping drive that SEO. So
Yeah.
Yep.
great.
Quit showing all my secrets.
You told us we could, John. I know there are a lot of questions around when, if you don't have IntelliSearch yet, when you're going to have it. A couple things on that front. Everyone will have it by Q1 of next year, and we're going to be continuing to roll it out on a kind of region by region basis. When you're a couple weeks out from receiving it, you will be notified. There will be multiple communications sent out to you. There will be training sessions that you can attend, et cetera. And so don't worry, as it's approaching your region, you will know, and we will make sure we're partnering with you in that migration.
We've had a very active chat during this webinar, and hopefully we've been able to answer some of the questions. We will get back to those questions that we haven't been able to answer in person and we've got some great feedback here as well. John, I asked a little bit about how things went with the transition with your team and getting your agents up to speed. Uh, those people out there don't have IntelliSearch yet, or they're just getting it, or going to get it in the next month or so. What are some of the things they should start out with? What's your advice on where to start with rolling this out
It's like,
within your team?
yeah, for us, it was just getting together. I mean, we get together every week, so just getting together and kind of running through it. I mean, for anybody who has a website and has been playing with websites for a while, it's pretty self-explanatory, but like any new thing, just get on and break it. That's what we did. And then, I mean, literally that's where you guys get the feedback. We break it and you guys change it and make it better and just keep moving forward. I haven't seen, a huge pushback other than some of the stuff we talked about, which seems like the majority of it you guys have either fixed or we've confirmed with Cindy that it's in the plans to be addressed. But yeah, I mean, I don't have any major tips for how to get through it because I don't think it's that major of a difference. It just seems like it's a simplified search and pretty easy to navigate
Great.
from the agent side.
Cool. Rose asked a question in the chat. Are agents replacing this with a regular matrix search for clients? I'm assuming when you say regular matrix search, are you talking about your MLS search? I'm not quite clear on that question, but yes. So most people do push their Sierra websites and push clients to search on their Sierra websites so they can get that data that we provide in regards to what clients are looking at and being able to take automated actions off that as well. So if you're not familiar with Sierra, you guys, we'd be happy to show you more. We'll have a demo slide up here in just a little bit.
But yeah, just to build on Scott's response to Rose, because I think Rose, I think the beauty of IntelliSearch is it pairs what we call like faceted search, so like the checkbox experience with the keyword capability, right? And some of the feedback we got early on was that like we took too far a step back from the checkbox functionality and we reintroduced that, right? Such that you can still search that way, but then you can also leverage the keyword search bar functionality to leverage long tail, more specific terms that don't reside in the MLS, right? So it's really the best of both worlds. And we get that there's a time and place for faceted search, like that, like many people are used to that, and there's value to it. But we want to make sure that that the keyword search functionality is also a core part of the experience. And I think there was really interesting feedback in the chat around actually making that more prominent. And I think that's something we will take to heart and think about from a UI perspective.
Awesome. Yeah, Teresa, you guys are going to do some crazy stuff with this thing, I'm sure. So I'm sure you guys are excited to get your hands on it. I think that's all I'm seeing in the chat that we can address now. We are kind of running up against time. Cindy, John, Peter, anything else you'd like to share with the group here?
I think there's
Well,
one question. Sorry, there's one
go ahead,
question
Cindy.
around how do property alerts go out with partial match safe searches? So I just want to quickly address that. When you hit save and continue, you do not have to check this include exact match only. So when you don't include this, when you don't check this off, all partial matches will also get sent in your e-alerts and market updates. So that's just something for you guys to know. Okay, sorry. Peter, I think you were saying something and I cut you off.
Yeah, no, I was really just a couple closing remarks. I think we're really excited about this. Thankful to have someone like John as a customer and a partner as we've worked through this. We're really excited to get this in all of your hands. I saw a comment in the chat around, will this be voice enabled at some point? I think a lot of things are going to be voice enabled in the near medium term, and it's going to be interesting to see how the technology landscape evolves over the next 6 to 12 months. But I will tell you that it's hard to believe that many folks will be typing much in to systems of record or even search bars in the medium term, and we plan to stay on top of that. But yeah, I think we're seeing people like John lean in here and win, right? And we really think it's very much a furthering of our strategy of empowering the best teams and the best agents with the best SEO tools, and allowing you all to build businesses that are sustainable and independent because they generate organic traffic, right? Hey, there's a time and place for PPC. There's a time and place for buying lists. There's a time and place for portals. But at the end of the day, if you're able to stand up an organic traffic engine, you will win, and you'll win over a long period of time, right? It does take a little bit of an investment. It does take some work. We're here to partner with you on that, but we think this is a big step forward on that front, and we're really excited to bring this out to the rest of our customers over the next few months.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Peter. And that's it for today. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate the interaction in the chat and the feedback and the questions and everything. It really made it much more interesting for us. Cindy, John, Peter, thanks so much for helping us out today. We appreciate everybody here. And again, if you don't have Sierra, you're not familiar with it, or you are familiar with it and want to find out more, there's a QR code up here. There's in the chat. You can set up a demo as well. And other than that, thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
So much for joining us today. We have a lot to go over with the Superstar panel, and we're going to be talking about IntelliSearch, why it works, what it looks like, what's going on with it. So we're excited to